backcountry Colorado, hiking, backpacking.
I did a lot of marathons. I was convinced to do some ultras.
Climbing, and I do filming and photography.
I just like the ultras because I love the community. I just think that everybody is so nice, whether they're the first place finishers or, you know, us that kind of mosey along.
Thank you for showing up. Rebecca Schwager, one of the best names in Boulder. Where are we? What are we doing?
We're here at the Studio Boulder. So this is a co-working space or an event venue. We actually have a few seats open if anyone's interested. But yeah, we have a lot of awesome entrepreneurs, professionals, startups here. And tonight we have one talking, Lisa McAllister. She is with Good Cause.
Lisa McAllister with Good Cause. You work in a, what do you call this? A work share space?
A co-working space.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
The coolest place in Boulder.
For people that may not even be familiar with this, paint us a picture.
So there are about 20 companies here, and I guess we're 23 companies, 30 companies here, and of all from different industries. But what I love about the studio is a lot of creative people are here, but it's not focused solely on creatives. So a lot of just really positive energy, shared workspace, as well as private workspace.
And you mentioned earlier, so you're kind of a solopreneur. You're a one-person band with a project manager that works with you. Mm-hmm. Your company is with Good Cause, and you used to work from home, and now you work here. What's the difference?
The difference is the energy. And I'm a former journalist, ran a publication company,
whoop, whoop.
And so I spent, I ran that company out of my home for 12 years, and I was just starting to get to that like crazy factor where we've got some people that work from their homes around the horn here. Does that happen to you, Jayme?
I've been there for a long time.
You know what I'm saying? So this is just a great place to come and be inspired and get advice and feel good.
And we understand you actually get to work with Von Miller. Tell us about that.
I do. So part of my business is I have a PR and communications firm, and one of my specialties is sports philanthropy. And he has a foundation called Von's Vision, and he provides eyeglasses and eye care to disadvantaged youth.
So on brand too. Don't you love that?
Absolutely.
You didn't come up with that idea, though.
I did not come up with that.
Whoever did. Very smart thinking.
Yeah, no, he came up with that idea, and it's a very personal story for him. And so I work with him.
What is the personal story?
So growing up, he wore the thick Coke bottle glasses. It took a while. He was, I think, around 7 or 8 before they really realized he had a eyesight problem in the classroom. So was falling behind. But also played sports. And so playing sports with glasses, your glasses are constantly getting broken. They're taped together. It's kind of that typical nerd story. So for him, what he thinks is amazing is when he gives kids glasses, kids can't be teased about their glasses because it's cool because Von Miller
when Von Miller gives you glasses, you've got a lot of ammo for that bully.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's really amazing to see him connect with the kids when we give out glasses. And he has said to me, and it gives me chills to think about it, he's like, Lisa, when I'm looking in their eyes, I'm looking, but they're looking back at me, and I'm thinking, that's me. That is totally me, and we are connected.
Well, don't get me crying. I already cried once doing research for the show with Tracy Ross's stuff. I mean, if everybody should go to the show notes. She's not here because she's sick, but she wrote some powerful stuff, very personal and touching. Have you guys all read that Backpacker article? You guys are familiar? Oh yeah. My goodness. I was like sobbing at my desk today.
A lot of people do amazing things in the world and don't want recognition for it. They want, the love to come into their life. That's what I believe. And so, I just feel grateful that I get to work with people like that.
Yeah, right on. Well, hey, thanks for dropping by the trailer.
Thank you.
Much success to you. And how do people find you?
My website is withgoodcause.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you, Russ.
All right, well, let's get rolling with this Dispatch Radio Hour. We are very excited for this one. We've got an awesome cast here. We're calling this one the Badass Adventure Journos episode, or journalist. So let's go around the horn here and just hear what we got. Jayme, how do I know you?
Pretty sure I wrote a story about you, Russ.
Did you write a story about me?
Something about Denver and
did you do something on Ski Denver? Ski Denver, that's right. I had forgotten about that. Jayme Moye, you're one of these badass adventure journos we talk about. What does that mean to you? What is your job?
It's kind of a tough story. How long do you have?
Approximately 1 minute.
I'll be really honest. I write about things that I'm passionate about and that I get really interested in. And a lot of times that's people doing incredible things in the outdoors. And that can be in terms of athletics. It can be in terms of altruism. And the most important component of this is that it's something I can convince a magazine editor to pay me to write.
Yes, that is the part I had a problem with when I tried being a freelance journalist. That's for sure. Jayme, you're one of the hashtag FOTS, friends of the show from the beginning, an original. You're like a special designation of FOTS, I think, like an OFOTS. You've been with you were on our That's So Boulder episode. People can get more background on you on that. We also have something coming up where we recorded with you and Hans Florine, one of the most legendary rock climbers out there, for your book, On the Nose. So that'll be coming out. People can check out that pretty soon.
Not to be confused with Up the Nose.
Not to be confused with Up the Nose. Or Out the Nose. And sitting next to you, who do we have?
Hi, Cameron Martindell here.
Cameron, and how do you fit in this whole crew here?
I'm right between Jayme and Avery.
All right, perfectly. You look comfortable.
Yeah, I figured this is a spot to have.
Where's Kelly? Oh, Kelly's over here. Kelly, so you know what I'm doing next. You know what's coming. We all know what Jayme looks like because, she's been a friend of the show for a long time. What are we dealing with Cameron? What are we looking at here, Kelly?
Cameron looks very Boulder.
Looks very Boulder.
He has
all right.
a trucker's hat on.
Trucker's hat, yep. Check.
He has a gray foxy little beard.
Gray foxy beard. And very importantly, in the back of the trailer, who do we have in the back of the trailer, Cameron?
That's my wife back there, carrying my next baby.
And you've got a baby on the way. Congratulations. When is that baby coming?
Baby boy is due in June to join his sister, who is 3 as of January.
And so, it's interesting. One of the most common questions and that people ask the show and that kind of talk to us about, when we talk, we get feedback on what people want to talk about parenting, how to kind of keep your outdoor stoke while you're a parent, keep doing the things that you enjoy doing, but then B, also, how do you get outdoors with your kids? Any just quick tips off the top here for, somewhat of a veteran?
I think it goes back to that classic tagline, just do it. Especially if you are an adventurer and an athlete, whatever you want to call yourself. If you're someone who gets outside and has enjoyed doing that in your youth or earlier stages in life, and you've developed the skill sets to be able to do so, ideally you've developed a degree of competency to be able to start taking your kids out there and just stair step it. And I think one of the great things that I've learned about having kids is you take them one day at a time, one moment at a time. Yeah, the sleep's overrated, but you grow with them and you learn their abilities as they grow up, and you start to discover what they can handle and what they can tolerate and where you can take them. And I've got a 3-year-old now, and she's pretty awesome, actually. Much to my wife's chagrin, we had her bombing 5th Street and Telluride, which is the designated sledding slope in Telluride, on her ski bike.
Nice.
And
at 3 on the ski bike.
We'll have to throw a link on your site to the video of her doing that, because she hits a few whoopties and then has a little squizzle at the bottom, but recovers.
Yeah, that's going up in the show notes. Corey, what do you think?
She's in squizzles. That's right.
Squizzles.
She crushes that, and then we actually put her into a ski school at 3 at Telluride, and we're going to do that again at Steamboat here later this month. So
you're married to someone who's obviously wealthy because you're a journalist. You can't afford ski lessons. You can't afford ski lessons. Come on.
No. The trick is to write a story about the ski lessons.
All right.
So watch
I see.
for that.
You got to hustle, baby. Jayme, did you have something to add?
Oh, I just was going to say, Cameron, remember also, you do a ton of hiking with that baby in a backpack.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. So
Yeah.
just you get a
That's good
backpack,
training.
throw
Yeah.
on your shoulders, and get them out there. So just do it.
So Cameron, you're a freelance adventure traveler. You call yourself an expedition writer. You're a photographer. You're a filmmaker. You've got a blog called Off Yonder. You work as a senior editor at Elevation Outdoors magazine, a big friend of this show. What's up, Doug? You contribute in your free time, I guess, I don't know, to National Geographic. And Kelly, I need Kelly back here. Are you ready to hear about the most interesting man in Colorado?
Oh, I am.
Because this man has been to all 7 continents. He's lived in 5 of them. He had a 4-month stint at the South Pole. He's got 15 years of mountain search and rescue experience. Like, where the hell does he get the time for this? He's an Eagle Scout. He's been an Australian bushfighter. He competes in sailing regattas.
What's an
He's
Australian
making some of this shit up.
bushfighter?
And
skipped a word.
Fight against bushes.
Where are you reading
I
from,
forget
Russ? That
something?
doesn't even say that on there.
Fights Australian bushes.
I've got Australian bush firefighter. Excuse me. Firefighter, people. Fire.
Reading is not Russ's strong suit.
That sounded exciting for a second. Wait, are you ready for the kicker? This is the man. If I'm sorry with the wife in the back of the trailer, but if he was a single man, this is where the kicker is. He plans national and international youth programs. Cameron, seriously, you do all this shit?
I have done or can do.
Well done, sir.
I couldn't say I'm in the midst of all that at this particular moment, but that's all.
Because you're
rings
you're
true.
about to be in the middle of the hurricane with 2 kids for sure. And who do you have to your right here?
Avery. Tell us
Avery.
about Avery.
Hi, this is Avery
Should have
Stonich.
you guys interview each other.
I'm a freelance outdoor adventure and travel writer, and I pick up tips from these 2 other people next to me.
And you had a big moment today, young lady. Can you tell us about it?
I did. I went to my mailbox and pulled out Outside Magazine to see my first ever print piece in there.
All right, cheers to that. Cheers to that. Congratulations on your big moment.
Thank you.
In journalism. How did you get to this point in your life that you want to be a journalist? I'm saying, sadly, like a scolding parent.
It was a long and interesting arc that all makes sense looking back on it, but I didn't actually know that this was where I was going to end up as I was doing all those different things.
Give us a quick summary of the different things, because you do have a varied background. So hold on, let me try to do it. IMBA, you work for IMBA, the International Mountain Bicycling.
Yes.
Amy Ross, you got to get that changed.
Correct.
Association. Oh boy. Yeah.
That's
go
it?
ahead.
That's as far as you could remember?
No, I can do something. No, I can do more. I can do better. Hold on. It was
Bushfire. Think bikes, think
there was no
outdoors.
firefighting. There was no firefighting. Yes, there was some sort of an event company of some sort.
Yeah. I helped start an event company that runs demo events for the
Demo
bike
events.
industry.
Yeah.
You forgot about my nature job. I made educational signs and exhibits for parks and zoos and wildlife areas
I did
for
forget
almost a
about that.
decade.
Oh, wow. So that was a big part of.
Yep.
So what is the key to making a good educational sign?
Well, it's kind of like the key to making a good article. Make it engaging and something that people, a non-captive audience, want to spend their time on.
Do you have a sign in mind that, like, when you think of like the sign that you're most proud of?
There are so many, and I can't think of one particular that I'm especially proud of right at this moment, but the one that pops into my mind is a line that my husband, who's sitting here, and I always say as we're hiking along, we say to each other, because this was a headline on one of the signs, watching for wildlife also means watching for signs of wildlife.
All right, Corey. That sounds right. Can we make a song? Can we make a song out of that, like a dispatch radio song? Yeah. And you're super interested in Israel, is this right?
Well, I went to Israel at the end of last year, so I'm writing a bunch of
interest is starting to
stories.
wane.
I'm actually, yeah.
You're done with Israel?
No comment. I love Israel.
How much time did you spend in Israel?
I was in Israel for 10 days, and I thought it was the most amazing place. I really, really enjoyed it. It took me completely by surprise. I didn't really know what to expect, and it was amazing in many different ways.
What were you expecting?
Honestly, I joked that if I had taken a quiz about Israel before I left, I would have failed. I think if Cameron and Jayme can probably relate, you don't always have the time to do as much preparation as you want
That's
before
true.
a trip.
Journalists do tend to be like fly by the
never
seat of their
enough time
freaking pants, right?
research.
Yeah.
There's always
Jayme?
more research. to
I
do.
once had less than 24 hours to prepare for a sudden trip to South America. peruse specifically.
and become an expert. But it's such a good skill to have, to be able to like do
Read.
3 hours of homework and be an expert. Read. Seriously, it's underrated these days, right? All right, so I asked all of you guys what kind of questions you get, because it's not often that a typical person just sits down with an adventure journalist. This is pretty exciting, at least for me. Okay, I might be alone. No, I don't think I am. Look, we got a whole trailer full of people that are interested in hearing what you have to say. So some of the questions that you get often are, number one, do you have the best job ever? Going around and starting with Jayme, do you have the best job ever?
For me, yes. But I can't say the same thing for you.
Cameron?
Yeah, I'm right in the same boat with Jayme there. It's the best job for me. Sitting a cubicle is not a best job for me.
Yeah. All right. Avery?
I definitely think I have the best job for me. And then there are some days when it's the worst job ever. And that's just how it goes.
So what's the bad part?
I think the bad part is just having to put yourself out there and pitch stories and get
Pitching stories is a
feedback.
pain in the ass.
And there's a lot of, it takes a lot of pitches to nail the right story for the right editor and the right publication. So it's a learning process.
Yeah, and you're relatively new. You said you've done this for about 3 months now.
3 years.
I'm sorry.
A little longer
Sorry,
than
Cameron
3 months.
Malcapine. I'm sorry. I'm giving you editing homework.
I don't think I'd be in this trailer
Facts.
if it had only been 3 months, but
Sorry about that. So you've been at it 3 years.
3 years.
And is that kind of, where are you in the arc? Are you kind of at a place where like now you've got steady work and it's fairly comfortable and you're in the swing of it? Or is it still kind of you're in the grind and...
yes, both. All of the
Yeah,
above.
both. Mhm.
I think I have a lot of clips and I have a lot of relationships at this point, and a lot of this business is relationships and knowing who to go with what story ideas. But I'm still learning, and I'm still, I still have target publications that I'd like to write for that I haven't managed to land yet. So there's always room to grow.
And Jayme's got 8 years in the biz now. I know the first kind of couple, just a quick backstory on you. You were working at Oracle and then had this crazy notion that you wanted to become a journalist. And you had a couple of rocky years where you were scraping by, making money, and then you've kind of reached a point where you were making some stable income. And now, hey, you've written your first book. So it's got to be going pretty well by now, right?
Yeah, well, they say the first 3 to 5 years of freelance writing are really rough, and that is absolutely the case. And Avery is still in the thick of it. And I'm not saying at year 8 it's a cakewalk, but I have established some relationships with some editors that I really like and respect.
It seems like when Jayme wants to write an article for Men's Journal, Jayme writes an article for Men's Journal. Am I wrong?
I have gotten some creative leeway there.
I love seeing a friend of mine's byline in Men's. I just think it's so cool. And maybe people aren't that familiar. Can we just do a quick kind of rundown? I mean, so National Geographic, Men's, among the people that we're talking to today, obviously Outside, Avery was in that. Elevation Outdoors, we know and love. You've done work for a lot of different publications.
8 years, I get around.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every one of them. Yeah.
I write for anyone who pays me.
Who's like, is there a publication where you guys are like the dream publication? Like, that's the one publication I want to be in. What about you, Jayme?
Well, it's funny you say that because there are in theory, and then when you get into them in practice, not mentioning any names, Outside Magazine, you realize that it takes them 8 to 12 months to pay you.
Let's not jade Avery like on the day that she gets her first Outside Magazine.
I have been paid by them twice before, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So,
what
but
about
for you,
from an editorial perspective?
Corey?
Are there, you think you want to write for
I would
this,
think New York
like,
Times Magazine
you
would
have
be
to-
top.
No, that's cool, but we're gonna edit it our way.
You know what? My favorite editor is at Men's Journal. That's Ty Trimble, and also here in town, 5280, Lindsay Kohler. So we're really
Lindsay.
lucky.
Yep. She's a pro.
Yeah, we have a New York City caliber magazine right here
For sure.
in Denver.
Yeah. If you're in Denver and not reading 5280, you're definitely doing. And if you're in Denver and not reading Elevation Outdoors, you're doing something wrong.
Right?
Right on. Cameron, dream publication for you. Maybe you've already been in it. I don't know.
I broke into Wired a little while ago. I haven't done anything for print Wired, but did doing stuff online for them, and that was as kind of as a techie geek. That was obviously a great.
What did you write
breakthrough
for
there.
Wired? What was your first story?
My first piece, I think, was on those satellite communication devices. So it's like the techie outdoors blend kind of thing, and so that's kind of
so e-bike. You're going to be all over e-bikes then.
the e-bikes could be a possibility.
You're going to be their e-bike correspondent. I think.
Yes, maybe so. We'll have to get a few of those around.
Avery, do you have a dream publication?
No, I've had one print piece in National Geographic Traveler, and I'd like to have some more print pieces. I've done a lot of digital stuff for them, but I have not done much print. So
I would think Nat Geo would be a tough one to crack. Yeah.
Well, the Yellow Border, certainly the
Yellow Border,
the Society magazine.
Yeah, that's got to pay some good money though.
You bloody well hope so. It looks like a lot of work.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, Russ, about the magazines that you think would pay a lot.
Yeah,
and then they just don't.
They're like, there's a benefit for you being in this magazine, so don't quibble with me.
There's definitely some titles that leverage that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so moving on to other questions you get. Do you get paid to travel, Jayme?
Excessively.
Cameron, do you get paid to travel?
No.
And Avery?
No, I don't.
I think your answer you submitted was not exactly.
No, I don't get paid to travel.
I was just gonna say, can we add a little context to that question? Like, and should you, or how do you feel about that?
I don't know. These are just the questions people are asking.
That's just the questions people ask me, and so I think from a editorial ethics standpoint, you don't want to be paid to travel because you want to be.
Jayme, you are so
impartial.
Ethicless. I did not know.
I am.
I had no
ethicless.
idea. You're like, I'm good. Like, so when you went to Kilimanjaro with the paragliders, that was paid for. Like, you didn't have it, but it wouldn't make sense for you to have expense to travel.
The travel expenses were covered, and then I was paid to write the story.
Yeah. Whereas Avery's saying, no, you should have booked a $1,200.
No. I a lot of my travel expenses are paid. It's just that I don't get a paycheck while I'm traveling.
Oh, right on.
And then again, you sell the story when you get back.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. That's true. Okay. Fair enough.
These are just the questions people ask me.
Yeah.
Like the other one, are you always on vacation?
Yeah. That is kind of interesting. What do I guess the heart of the question is like how do people perceive your jobs when you say like I'm an adventure journalist, I'm an expedition journalist?
What we need to do is we need to put that meme together that was like what people think I do.
Yeah, totally.
What my mom thinks I do.
What would it be?
Mostly.
What I actually do. What I think I do.
What does the common person think? So let's start with that.
I don't know. I've got to ask a common person.
All right. Do we have any? What do you guys think? I mean, like when they approach you, they think it's awesome. It sounds really glamorous, that kind of thing.
Ask some of the common people in the back of the room.
All right, let's hear it. What do you guys think?
Nicole's really common.
What questions do you have for these guys? How does it sound?
Well, what
Eileen
do you
Bloom.
consider is not glamorous about it?
What could possibly not be glamorous about being an outdoor adventure journalist? That's a good question.
Well, after you go on this amazing trip, then you sit at your desk picking one hair out at a time, trying to concoct the perfect piece of art to reflect what you experienced.
Writer's block. Is that the devil, Jayme?
Writers do get writer's block.
You do. Is it a real thing, writer's block, Cameron?
I was actually just having it this morning, and my wife walked up
What does
to
it
me at the
feel like?
computer and was like, "Why you look like you're staring off into nowhere?" I was like, "I'm just kind of stumped right now."
Can we get her perspective on writer's block? Can you maybe describe for our audience what writer's block is and what it looks like?
It looks exactly like that. Cameron looks like blankless stare, kind of searching.
Like at a computer screen?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Always at a computer screen.
Yeah. But then there's the flip side, which is like the crazy writer where you come in.
The manic.
Well, they've been at their computer
Oh,
all day,
yeah.
and you're like,
I'm in
"Have you been
flow
outside
state,
at
baby."
all?" And he's like, huh? What? So
12 hours have passed? What?
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, my
it's
husband can
true.
attest to that too.
Yeah, your husband can. Yeah. And
We're manic depressive, absolutely.
we have Jamie's man right here. Can you explain to us what writer's block looks like and maybe feels like as a for the guys out there that are supporting their journalists?
Or being supported by their
Sorry to throw your bird under the bus there, but
the parrot, literally the bird.
there is a member of our household that is of avian nature, and I always know that Jayme is struggling to come up with the right sentence when the birds just get sniffed mercilessly. she sniffs the bird, and all there is just this relentless sniffing. and I know not to interrupt at that point.
Turn back around
think
and walk away.
for intern Cameron, that little soundbite might serve us well in the future. So, Jayme, anything to say for yourself?
Defense.
No comment.
You do have a parrot. That's got to be the most annoying pet, right?
I can't answer that.
That's all the answer we need, I think. That's all the answer we need. Where were we? We were with audience questions. Justine, you had a comment about where we were common people. Justine will be a common person for us. Sure. Common millennial. What's your perception of these guys? Outdoor adventure journalists. What's your perception?
Seems like a dream life.
Seems like a dream life. Okay. But then there's what about with now that you know that there's writer's block? How do you feel? Do you feel differently?
I think that you have to work hard in a lot of careers, and so to be able to
suck it up,
incorporate things that you love is really special.
I would think the unsteady pay would be just the stress that comes with not a steady paycheck. Isn't that like the number one thing?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, but what you do is you create an account that has, depending on who you are, anywhere from $10 to $10,000 to $20,000 in it on a regular basis, and that's where you pull your expenses
think the banks
from,
allow
right?
that much money.
So that way, when you get your next paycheck 9 months later, you're not freaking out because you're not using that paycheck to pay that month's rent.
You got to be disciplined. Yeah. And Cameron, you have somewhat of a steady because you've got a steady gig with Elevation Outdoors.
Well, I mean, steady gigs are great, and that's certainly one part of the formula is to get an editor gig or something like that. So my managing editor gig with Elevation Outdoors pays a little bit, pays steady. Does it pay rent? No, but there's other gigs out there.
Come on, Doug, step it up,
right?
He's got more mouths to feed now. Come on.
So it's part of the formula. So you have your pitching work and things like that, but then if you can land a steady editor's gig, that certainly helps with the cash flow. And yeah, it was interesting getting married to Jordan when she was working full time, and I married her, and I was like, awesome. Just married someone with a full-time job.
Yeah.
I got this all figured out. Little did I know that she would want to end up giving that up, and now she's become a writer herself. So it's two freelancers.
Oh, Jordan, you got the
household.
bug. Oh no. Well done. All right. So we got two. That's the dreaded 2-writer household. You don't want it.
And then there's my approach, which is just move into a garage.
Is that what you did? Seriously?
Yes.
Hashtag garage life.
Rented my house and I moved into the garage.
You right size? You right size.
There's actually a pretty sweet apartment above the garage.
Is that where you're living now?
Yeah.
So you own a house that you rent out to others in order to make additional income.
Correct.
And then you rent a smaller place for cheaper.
No, I built the garage with the apartment over it.
Oh, you're savvy. Okay. So you're smart on many levels. Okay. Gotcha. I see where we're going there. So in addition to, we want to jump into a little bit of, some of the context of what you all do. Obviously, all of you have done kind of badass kind of adventure and, all the stuff that people actually pay to, have you go read. But also there's some serious stuff. And Jayme, you in particular, do investigative work. And I know you've got something cooking. I don't know what you can say about it, but can you tell us a little bit about what you have cooking up? It has to do with rafting, Colorado, and sexism. Dun, dun, dun. Cameron's going to add a great sound effect right there.
You know what? I can't disclose the magazine, but I can say there is a big investigative story coming up.
Huge.
Soon. Huge. Say this summer. And it is an investigation into river guiding culture in Colorado. And the story was sparked by what happened in the Grand Canyon. So back in January 2016, a report came out from Sally Jewell, who was then the Secretary of the Interior. She had looked into some allegations of sexual harassment made by females in the Grand Canyon River District, which is basically the Colorado River running through the Grand Canyon. So they had been on trips run by the National Park Service that were for the purposes of scientific research, trail maintenance, and education. And they alleged a couple really horrific things that ranged from, ass smacking.
Really horrific?
Yeah.
Like how horrific?
Ass smacking, trying to sexually assault a passed out woman at a campfire.
That's really horrific.
Retaliation against women who told their managers in the National Park Service that they were being harassed or discriminated against. So
what kind of retaliation?
not assigning them on those trips anymore, abusing them verbally, taunting them, teasing them, things like, well, nobody would sexually harass you, you're too fat, or just really horrifying things. And that sparked some bigger investigations into it, which got me thinking, wow, if this is happening in the Grand Canyon on the Colorado River, what's happening in Colorado, where we have the most popular whitewater rafting river in the country, which is the Arkansas, which runs through Salida. So over 500,000 people raft that river a year. There's 53 permanent outfitters, over 1,000 river guide employees. So I went undercover.
You went undercover as a man?
No, Russ.
Oh wait, okay, I'm sorry. So you went undercover as a woman, but a different person, an alias, and you wanted to find out if you were going to be sexually harassed. What's the answer?
Sort of. I went undercover as a normal person.
Okay, that must have been hard.
A common person.
How the hell did you pull that off?
You're
have
not
a parent
normal.
at home.
Well, I took Nicole, who's
Justine's
here.
laughing.
I took Nicole, who's
happy.
here in the back of the Airstream, and
Yo,
we went-
Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
What's up?
We just played the part of 2 river rafting guests, and we signed up with a local company. We went and ran a half-day trip on the Arkansas.
So back to the question of, do you get paid to travel and recreate? The answer is definitely yes. Okay, continue.
And then I skulked around for a bit, just on the scene.
Skulked around. What is that? Avery, help me out. What is skulked around?
It's sort of looming in the shadows.
Ooh.
And being evasive.
That sounds like Corey.
I loomed. Well, I spent the weekend. I spent the weekend with Colorado's, what would you call it? Earliest river guiding company. They hold the first permit in the state back from 1984. So spent the weekend on site with them. Their guides all live and work there, on the family house. And my gosh,
like, why she got to pick us, man?
They didn't know.
And did you get harassed?
You have to read the story.
Your publicist, Jean-Francois, over here. All right. Were you comfortable with this whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah. No lawsuits. Well, so that's cool. So you're doing some outdoor investigative piece. It's super secret, but obviously we'll share it when it's going to be coming out.
Sure.
When it's shareable, we'll do it. Avery, tell us about something cool that I know we talked about Israel. What's on your mind?
Well, the other thing I wanted to share with you was the story I wrote about the Via Dinarica, which is a
say it again.
The Via Dinarica.
Via Dinarica.
It's a long distance trail network through 7 countries in Eastern Europe, from Slovenia down through Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro. I'm not going to hit them all.
People don't realize is actually a really incredible country, and the people. I've been to Slovenia, and is that where you said that it starts, Slovenia?
Well, that's where it starts. I did not go to Slovenia, but
Croatia is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, all those areas that were part of the former Yugoslavian Republic are now independent countries, and they have such an interesting interwoven history and culture and people, and yet also they have very distinctive personalities as well. So they're not exactly.
How would you describe the personality?
It's a very friendly, gregarious personality. The culture is very farm to table. Things that we would call farm to table, they just take for granted, like smoking a ham, in their.
They're like,
shed.
way to pat yourselves on the back, Boulder. It's just called life over here.
Exactly. But they've seen a lot of hardship.
$9 for that salad. Fantastic.
But they've seen a lot of hardship, and tourism is a good opportunity for them to provide some livelihood for their people. And yet people aren't exactly flocking to Kosovo, for example. So this trail network is an effort to bring together a regional tourism draw and provide a livelihood for people along the network. So I went and hiked a portion of it last year and wrote a story about it for National Geographic Travel, and felt like it was just a really fascinating story to research, and a great and fun to hike, but also just digging into the history and learning about the war and the conflict and sort of making sense of all that had just been a confusing blur of news when I was growing up. Was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And I felt like I was also doing something positive for the people there by helping people understand that it's not this horrible, scary place. It's actually a really wonderful, welcoming place.
Yeah, and outdoor, the outdoors as tourism, as kind of economic development. I mean, a lot of that's happening here in Colorado. So that's, super interesting to hear, how, war-ravaged countries can use their natural assets to bring tourism dollars back. So do you think it's going to work?
I think so. I mean, they're putting themselves on the map as a destination as a result of this. And it's funny because this national park in Bosnia where we went, it's called Sutjeska National Park. And it was actually...
done with the pronunciation.
Well, it could be wrong.
We'll go.
You won't know anymore.
Confidence is key, Cameron says.
The park was developed or created to mark a war memorial, a Yugoslavian war memorial. So it's interesting in that the park has amazing natural resources, but the real reason for it was this war memorial that's now a war memorial for a country that no longer exists. And so now the park is all of a sudden realizing that they should...
Is that meta, Corey? Is that officially meta? A war memorial for a country that doesn't exist anymore?
What exactly is meta?
Exactly. Well played. You just defined it. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break for a music interlude, I think, right now.
Hey, this is Kelly with Dispatch Radio, and we decided to include some music and integrate that into our show. We have some local music here tonight, the Good Kind Band. We have 3 of their members. They're a jam band in town.
Let's hear for the Good Kind.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
So who do we got? Who are we sitting with?
So let's start with Drew. Just tell us a little bit about
Drupal,
yourself.
apparently, is his
My
nickname.
name is Drew Michael. Tonight it's Drupal Drew. I play guitar for the Good Kinds.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
you guys want
Hey,
to-
Drew, what did we just hear? What was that song you just played?
That song was called The Moment. That's an original Good Kind song. It's
That's
kind of
great.
About, living in the moment. Dwell in the past.
Does anybody in the trailer want to take a shot at describing their music for the...
Sure. That's always
Terrence.
Terrence.
Yeah, well, this
stepping
is
up.
Terrence. I'll take a shot describing it. It's the good kind.
So, mostly talking Grateful Dead, Fish, throwing some Stones, some originals, but the good kind. Get it? It's good.
I'm with it, baby. I'm with it,
it's the
baby.
good stuff.
Yeah.
And we all kind of grew up on this and it's sort of our scene.
I'm hoping that someone will ask someone else, what kind of music do you like? And the answer will be the good kind.
Good kind of music, yeah. All right, who else do we have?
I like
in the
to
trailer?
say I'm Brian Wagstaff, aka
Brian.
Wags.
Wags.
So I
Welcome
think
to the trailer.
Thank you. We're honored to play here. This is so fun.
This has been
you know what I
rad.
mean? So we, me, Kanger, and Drew, we founded this thing. Basically, we founded this thing back in the day, a couple years ago, with the whole point of lose all the bullshit about bands and whatever and how many people are going to come to your show and tickets or something. It's just let's just play the music that we love.
Y'all were stoned the whole time, weren't you?
And I mean, some of that
Purple
we did,
Haze. And who? We need to round out the third member of the band. We need to get to that.
Yeah.
You got John in the corner
No,
over
there's
here.
more than 3 members. How many members, King?
That we have behind Mike. I'm sorry.
So I'm John.
John Kong. What do you do for a living? What do you do for a living, John Kong, who can't hold a mic in front of his face? He's
I have an
just for the
aversion
audience.
It's
he's
usually
like,
on a stand.
What's that,
We don't
what's
have to
that
hold
movie
them
where Will
ourselves.
Ferrell's like, I don't know what to do with my hands?
It's Dr. John Kang. He's a surgeon, and he's not the right doctor that you want to have, because if you see him, then you have some significant issues.
What kind of doctor are you, John? What kind of doctor are you, John? And you just play in a jam band in your free time? Is that what you do? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
That is so Boulder. Isn't that Kelly, is that so
every
Boulder?
surgeon plays in a jam band in Boulder.
about
Amazing.
you.
Thank you for saving lives,
No,
sir.
but that's what I love about Boulder. You can know people a long time, and then but you don't know them. You don't know them. You don't know them based upon what they do. You know them based upon what they like to do.
I mean, dude, if you're cutting people open, you need an escape.
threatening
Go
to hit
play
John
music.
with a
Am I
mic.
wrong?
I don't know what half of my friends do.
John too. And he's like the nicest guy.
Thank you for saving
ever.
lives, but put the mic next to your. All right.
Can I just tape it?
Hey, Drupal
one of those
Drew,
Bieber,
we got a wrap
little
here. How can people
headset
find you? What do you got coming up?
Thank you. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/thegoodkindboulder.
Kind Bold.
We're there about every month, so if you keep your eyes open onto our
Owsley's.
schedule, you'll find us at Owsley's.
Well, hey, we really appreciate you guys coming by. Your music is awesome. All right, so audience Q&A. Who wants to start off our Peanut Gallery Q&A?
I'd like to ask a question.
Sonia. She raised her hand first.
So my question is, there's this trend of travel blogging and people thinking that they're, or maybe knowing that they're writers and wanting to explore that more. And there's this idea that anybody with a computer and a camera can go out and take some pictures and write an article and pitch it to whoever, even put it on their own blog. And my question for you guys is, how much of that is true? And how much do you need to be a quote unquote journalist, or how much of a writing background do you need to have? And how much of the writer's dream is actually just going out there and doing it? Do you need to have a degree in this? How good do you need to be at this before you start? Can anybody with a camera and a computer just write a story and start doing this off the ground?
Avery, you're the newest to the scene.
Sorry.
Well,
Do you need to have a degree in journalism to get into this?
I do not have a
Can
degree
anybody
in
do it?
journalism, but I have written professionally for 25 years. So
She was 5.
I'm older than I look.
I think we got a snort out of Jayme.
I think the evolution of publishing has definitely changed where, yes, anyone can take a picture and write a blog if they'd like. Whether or not it will be well-written, grammatically correct, and read is another story. So it sort of depends on your goals. If you want to be a paid blogger to travel the world and be sponsored to go places and actually even be paid to be there, then you need to build up a following and you need to pursue sponsorships and advertisers. That's kind of a different model than what us three do because we are editorial journalists. So we don't accept paid for content, and we have a little bit more
true,
training.
Jayme? Do you accept paid for content?
I do not.
Cameron?
Negative.
So you guys are you guys are on a certain divider wall of hey, we only go so far. We're not going to give you paid content as far as it's not an advertorial. But you certainly you get your travel paid for sometimes, right, Jayme?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of opportunities where people are promoting like a new trip, or a country's Ministry of Tourism has budget to bring out travel journalists to expose them to their country. And that is funded by that country's Ministry of Tourism, for
But
example.
the difference is there's no like, this is what you're going to write about. There's no, I'm going to get to read the article beforehand. Is that the difference?
Exactly. So they're taking a big risk in a way. They're bringing you out and hoping that you write
I
something.
hope we look good.
Well, and they do a lot of research for that too. They look at your past stories, what you've written in the past, who you write for. There's a lot of targeting in that as well. So they're watching out for what they're
You're
trying
gonna
to
you're gonna
accomplish.
get hit by a mic by Kelly. She's ready to
clearly
swing.
not media
All right,
savvy.
Terrence has got a question.
I just wanted to build on that, and maybe you guys could just explain the difference between blogging or advertising and journalism. Because Avery, I think your example with that contract this week or whatever, see some things they can't. So maybe you could explain to the common people the difference between.
Well, there is a whole world of blogging and people traveling the world and being paid to be in a place, and they will sign a contract that says, I will do this many social media tweets.
That would be an example would be Erin Outdoors, a friend of the show, Erin Sullivan. She gets sent to go traveling, and sometimes she's a journalist, and then sometimes she's being paid. Like she'll put an Instagram photo of her and like a top from JCPenney's and hashtag JCPenney. Obviously, that's advertising. I know. I might have the wrong example there. Erin can call in to. I want to say it was JCPenney's. I don't shop. Okay, I don't shop, so I may be wrong. It could have been Gap.
Clearly.
Everybody is hoping that it's not JCPenney's right now.
Well,
But hey,
everybody's hoping it's not.
if it was
JCPenney
JCPenney's brilliant advertising, we're talking about it.
Well, like Jayme said, they are taking a risk on bringing journalists because there's no guarantee that will write something positive or that will write anything at all if it was a negative experience.
And if they want a guarantee, we're just like, sorry,
No.
we can't do that.
JCPenney.
All right, what other questions we have? Robin shipped in, part of our dispatch radio crew.
So I know, like from my perspective, I think from my understanding, a lot of the difference between journalism and blogging has to do with objectivity. And that has to do with social sciences as well. But if you're experiencing something like a piece on sexism and you're a woman, how do you maintain your journalistic perspective and your objectivity?
Yeah, and also just kind of adding to that, you're obviously, if you're getting paid by a publication to go raft a trip, there's got to be a part of you that wants the story to be true. Like if you go and you say like, I didn't find anything, then it's wasted money, right?
Well, there's definitely a skill in taking yourself out of the equation in terms of just becoming a conduit. So you're in there in terms of your ability to format the story and write the story in a way that's digestible by a reader and interesting to digest by a reader. Let's put it that way. But as far as what's happening, the facts that are happening, it's more that you're observing those and then you are crafting them into a narrative. So, your personal objectives need to absolutely go out the window. So I don't walk in at thinking, I'm going to see some sexual harassment. That's not at all.
Cameron, do something with that clip as well.
Bikini.
Yeah, I'm going to wear a thong and I'm going to drink a margarita and I'm going to get crazy and see who harasses me. No, not at all.
But that would be a great story.
I'm going to go undercover on that one.
So,
I'll do that too.
Cameron or Avery, has this ever come up where you feel like you haven't been objective or you've been in I've kind of wondered that myself as having been, now that I'm a kind of former journalist turning back into a journalist, where looking back, I realized like I probably didn't give that guy like as much fairness as I probably should have, because I probably was coming from kind of a certain angle. I mean, I feel like that certainly happened to me.
Well, I don't know. When you're doing reporting, you want to consult a variety of different sources that cover a spectrum so that you get different perspectives. And then you piece together the testimonial that you've gathered in order to create that compelling story, like Jayme said. So I can't
Yeah, it
say.
sounds good, but I don't think it's quite that simple. I mean, it just feels like, can you, it gets
P.S.
back to that question, can you truly be objective, right?
It's a job.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Mm.
Did we get back to that already?
Yeah, we did.
Earlier?
Yeah.
I thought you were always on vacation.
Yeah.
You're not always on vacation. Other questions from Justine's got a burning question, I can tell. Her eyes just got really big. Corey, can you hand Justine
I have
a
a
mic?
question.
Kelly.
So what defines for you a successful story?
I look at there's probably 3 metrics that you can use to gauge the success of a story.
Just off the top of your head, Avery, 3 metrics.
That's how Avery rolls. She does billboards, baby.
Did I tell you that I'm detail oriented?
Terrence is
One
like,
would
yes.
be how you feel about it, how you felt like you crafted together the story that you wanted to tell, and how pleased you are with the writing. The second one would be, numbers, traffic on the website. And then the third one might be the placement, like a success for you might be placing a certain story in a high profile publication. For
Like
me,
Outside Magazine.
for me, the ones that are most meaningful are the ones like that Via Dinarica piece I mentioned, as well as a story I wrote about Eric Larson's book and
Friend of the show. We know Eric.
Interviewed him before, and so I interviewed him when his book was coming out, and then did a whole story about his book, and then dove way down the rabbit hole of research into climate change.
Yeah,
and definitely made about 1 cent an hour on that story, but I had a lot of time, a lot of fun writing it.
Well, and then on the practical side, getting paid for the story. I mean, I think that's a degree of success as well. You've pitched a story, you've convinced an editor to take the story, you've negotiated a price, be it fair or not, or worthwhile or whatever, to some degree, and then you get a check in the mail and you pay rent or your mortgage or you buy groceries or something. Man,
I do remember the first time, I think it was Ski Magazine, sent me a check and I got in the mail. It was like $250. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, oh, I got to pay tax on this shit. Questions from the Peanut Gallery. Oh, Sonia, Terrence. Eileen's got one. Eileen's always got good questions.
One question I have is one of your goals to educate people on accessibility of some of these places that you go to? Because I kind of feel like when I travel, everyone's like, oh, that's so exotic. But I'm like, it's really not. It's doable by a lot of people in a certain way. Is that one of your goals, to not just inform people about travels, but to educate them about accessibility?
I think that's definitely a goal of mine, but that's also a goal of publications as well. Like when you're pitching to certain publications, for many of them, they're looking at making that accessible, and it's not just like the impossible, adrenaline thrilled, base jumper type that you need lots of years of experience to go about doing that sort of thing. But accessible adventures, and especially now with the family, we're looking at being able to help inspire families and people with young children to get out and travel. And so part of our
I think a YouTube video of your 3-year-old on a ski bike is just the trick to get us all inspired to get our kids in the outdoors.
A lot of moms say never.
Really? Does she biff it pretty good?
No. She recovers. She pulls it off great. But
Recovers.
But mom.
Jordan in the back of the trailer. She's like,
yeah, Jordan can tell that other side of the story there.
Well, I mean, I think moms just tend to be a little more cautious than dads. But one of the things that's great is
it's just a fact. That's not you don't think that it's a fact.
Right. Okay. But it's good. It's like a healthy balance to have him pushing her and me being like, maybe not. But in this hill, which was actually in Uray, not in Telluride, he misspoke earlier.
The facts are always tough for these journalists.
I do edit
alt
his
news.
work.
You and your alt news.
But I was at the top of the sledding hill, and this was the first time I'd seen her ski bike, and she had done it one time before, and I'd heard that she flipped over her handlebars and then looked up and was like, ha ha. And I was like, okay, well, at least that's good. But sure enough, she goes flying down this hill that is as hippy dippy as Uray is.
As Boulder.
And she's wobbling, and I'm freaking out at the top of the hill, but then she did it and it was awesome. And now we get to share that with the world, essentially.
Jayme.
I was going to say, and along those lines, and one of the words that Cameron used was inspire. And so I think, I'm going to go ahead and just speak for all of us and say that's a big part of what we do is we look for things that inspire us and that we think that we can then turn into or transmit in a way that's inspiring to other people.
Well, I can think of no better way to wrap the episode than on that note, and maybe one more song from The Good Kind. Yeah! Thanks, guys. It's a wrap.
You're free.